I'm Leon Poindexter, and we're here in the welding shop at the Gloucester Marine Railways. One of the things we have to do on the Beaver is we have to take some of the old parts and we have to fix them up a bit. This is a deadeye, and this is called a chain iron, and this is part of the rigging on the old Beaver. And this is pretty wasted and rather rusty, and Ed here is going to make this look like new. There's 20 of these deadeyes and chain irons that we have to sandblast. So what we're going to do is we're going to put them in the sandblast cabinet, and they're blasted with glass beads. After they're blasted and cleaned, we're going to paint them with coal tar epoxy, and this will go on the side of the vessel, going from the hull up towards the rigging. This being the hull side here, and they'll be held out from the hull by a piece called a channel. And from here will be the deadeyes and the lanyards and another deadeye, and then from there will be the shroud, which will go up to the top of the lower mast. What Ed is doing here is blasting away years and years of old rust and paint. We need to get this metal as clean as possible so that when we put the paint on it, that it's going to last for several years. John, of course, has been working on putting in the wedges, and also we started doing some fairing. But today it's too wet. It's been pouring rain all morning, and so we moved inside while Ed is doing some work in the sandblasting box, and we're carrying on doing below decks and inside work during the rainy weather here. At this point, we're below decks here on the Beaver. John and I have been working on framing the aft cabin, and this is going to be the cabin sole. As the visitors go through the vessel, they're going to come from the hold, and there's going to be a stairs. It's going to climb up this way. It's going to climb up through here and come up into the aft cabin. So we've done the framework, and we put down some planks. These are just dummied in for the time being so we could work out the how we're going to plank this cabin sole. And we're going to take these up. We're going to replace them with the permanent planking. The planking is going to be very similar to the ceiling plank, and we'll go across the cabin sole this way and blend into the ceiling plank that's along the side. And then coming down from here down into here is going to be raised paneling. All of this space back here was for one man, and this was just for the captain. The crew slept forward, and they were jammed into just a few bunks in the very forward part of the ship. And actually, that's the part of the ship that's got the worst ride. The rest of the crew actually had to find places in the cargo to bed down. They didn't even have regular bunks. But the captain had all this space to himself. And those windows across the stern, those is called the stern gallery. And this is the area that Rob has been working on the outside, on the transom. And from there, we're going to have a writing desk over here. There's going to be a settee across here. There'll be a stand-up secretary there. We'll have paneling in here. And this is going to look like a very opulent place, especially compared to the rest of the ship. While the captain had his large area in the aft cabin, the mate actually had a little tiny cabin of his own, and it would go from about this area only out to about here. He would barely even have any standing room, and his bunk would be back in this area. And then there would be a bulkhead or a partition along through here. Cargo was king. They didn't waste any space. Everything up forward was for cargo, except all the way forward where it's just a few bunks for the crew. But the tea crates and the fine furniture that the Beaver carried would all have been in this area. And besides that, they had to carry the ship's stores, all the food, extra parts, rope, rigging, sails. Everything else had to fill in this area here. And they would generally fill these holds right up. And there'd be very little walking space in through here, if any at all. That's about all the time we have for this segment. And check in again, and we'll show you some more progress on the Beaver.